Hi, everyone. My name is Garrett Trainer. I'm the current president of AES at IU, and I'm joined with Valerio Velardo, who is the director of the Sound of AI Accelerator, as well as the entire Sound of AI project, which is a very, very cool project with a YouTube channel with over 10,000 subscribers. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think now it's almost more than 30,000.
Wow, that's brilliant. Yeah, so I'm really, really happy that we're able to be joined by you today to talk about this accelerator, which is just a very, very cool program. Yeah, so I'll let you take away with the presentation.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much for having me here, Garrett. And I'm going to share my screen and then we can get started. Yeah, please do let me know if you can see my screen, the presentation that I have here.
Yeah, I can see your screen. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. So today I'm going to talk you through this program called Sound of AI Accelerator, which in a nutshell is a music AI, voice AI, audio AI startup accelerator. Now, the session is going to be divided into two parts. We're going to have the initial half an hour for the presentation itself. And then we're going to have half an hour for questions so that I'll try to address all sort of like ideas, questions, doubts you may have. So let's get started. So first of all, who am I? Well, this is a very deep philosophical question, but I would need perhaps like a psychiatrist to answer this properly, but that's not the point. So let's go straight to some context here. So as Gareth said, I'm the founder of the Sound of AI, which is this cool ecosystem that's mainly focused at the crossroads of music, artificial intelligence, and sound. And I've been working as an AI music consultant and music AI recruiter for years now. And I specialize in building, leading, and mentoring audio AI teams. And in the past, I founded a music tech startup called Melodrive, where we basically built a music generative system for video games. And as a background, I'm a classically trained musician, a programmer, and a scientist. And of course, I also have a PhD in music AI, specifically in generative music. Now, let me give you a little bit of context about the Sound of AI and the overall ecosystem so that you can get an idea why we arrived at this point, so namely having a startup accelerator. So one cool thing that we did was the open source research project. Now, the open source research project is just like as the name says, is a research project where we had a lot of people, a lot of researchers distributed from all over the world, working together towards the same goal, which was basically building a neural audio synthesizer for guitar sounds that could be triggered with vocal inputs. Like, for example, give me a guitar sound like that of Jimi Hendrix with a lot of reverb, right? This kind of stuff. So the overall project went on for quite some time, so almost 2 years, and we built a lot of technology, a lot of cool data sets, and we sort of summarized everything into this paper that got accepted at an international conference on generative music called AIMC, or Artificial Intelligence Music Creativity, in 2022. But here you have a link to the project itself, and you can find a lot of stuff like the paper itself in case you are interested in taking a look at that. There are GitHub repos. There's also a web app where you can try out the neural synthesizer for yourself without installing anything. Cool. So this was a really cool project that I did with the Sound of AI community, right? And another thing that came out from this community was the Sound of AI hackathon, which we had last summer. So we had more than 100 people working on this music AI hackathon, and we had almost 30 projects, and the hacks were really, really good. So now at this point, I thought, well, if in 2-3 days, these people can create something this cool, I just imagine what they could be capable of doing if they were given more time to do that. And so sort of like my thought was, okay, let's push the Sound of AI community to the next level. And in order to do that, let's create a startup accelerator. And this is going to be a 12-week startup accelerator focused on audio and music tech. Now you may be wondering, but aren't there other music tech accelerators out there? And the answer would be absolutely yes. For example, in London, there's Abbey Road Red. In the US, you have Texas Music Accelerator. In Belgium, you have California Music. But I do believe that all of these accelerators, music tech accelerators, have a similar problem. And the problem is that they suck. Well, not really. No, they're actually very, very good programs, but they indeed have a problem. And it's that they are quite generalist in audio music tech, whereas the Sound of AI Accelerator is particularly focused on everything that's at the intersection of music, audio, and voice AI. As you'll see throughout today's presentation, everything is tailored to this particular niche, from mentorships, what we teach, and the sort of like partnerships that we have, and all of this. Now, let me tell you a few differentiators between the Sound of AI Accelerator and all of this sort of like higher level, more generalist music tech accelerators. And one of the most important things is that the Sound of AI Accelerator isn't just an accelerator, but there's a whole ecosystem behind it, which is the Sound of AI, right? That has grown into this really cool audio music AI ecosystem. It started, everything started from a YouTube channel that now has more than 30,000 people. We have a super cool Slack community, and that's quite active and super supportive and very friendly. And we've done a lot of initiatives around all of this. So there's a whole ecosystem and platform with networks, with companies, and all of that that sort of pushes this accelerator forward. Then another big differentiator is that most of, well, I would say all of these music tech accelerators, you need to enter as a company, whereas the Sound of AI Accelerator is entrepreneur first, meaning that you get as a participant, as an individual, not as a company. So you don't have to have a pre-formed company before you get into the program. And throughout the program, the first goal actually is to create a co-founding team, come up with a business idea, so that by the end of the overall program, you have your own startup company, starting from scratch, starting from people. Another cool thing that I'm super, super proud of regarding this accelerator is that it has a research focus. And this is something that is very dear to me, and I sort of discovered while abandoning my sort of like academic research career and moving into the industry. And that is that it is extremely important to have a strong link with R&D specifically in the music AI, audio AI space. And so for that reason, what we did was partnering up with the most important research institutions out there in music AI. So here, probably you'll recognize some of these institutions, like, for example, MTG at University Pompeu Fabra, Center for Digital Music at Queen Mary University of London. So this is like something that I think like it's extremely important for startups to have this sort of extra help and partnerships with all of these research institutions. Now, if I were to summarize all of these different things that I've just told you into a single statement, I would say that Sound of AI Accelerator offers you the knowledge, guidance, and network to succeed with your audio AI startup. Now, having been within the startup environment for quite some time, I can tell you that not all the startups that will come out from the accelerator will necessarily be successful. And that's just like the way it is. It's sort of like a rule of life in a sense. But regardless, what I'm trying to do here is beyond forming and sort of facilitating the formation of this new music AI companies, is to give you the necessary skills to be successful within this particular niche. If I were to use an analogy, which an anime that is very dear to me, and I hope this reference is going to be like clear for you folks. I grew up in the 90s, and Goku and Dragon Ball was sort of like all the rage. So I hope like you get the reference here. But my idea is that you get into the accelerator as a kid Goku, and by the time you're out of it, you are a Super Saiyan Goku, because by that time you'll have the necessary connections, the skills, and the mindset necessary to be successful within the music and audio AI environment with your own company, but also as an employee, as a consultant. So you basically will have the possibility of entering this super fascinating field, regardless like the particular route that you want to engage with. Okay, so this was a lot of sort of like high level fluff and things, but now what do you actually get? Okay, let's go through some of the things that you will get more concretely. First of all, you're going to attend startup school. And this basically means that you are going to learn a lot of things about startup fundamentals, lean startup, customer discovery, which is startup lingo for saying market research. You'll know how to use Agile to build an audio AI product, how to pitch investors, how to bootstrap your company rather than asking for investors' money from the get-go, but also you'll learn how investors think and their frameworks, how they are categorized, and how you can pitch them in the best way possible. Now, if you go to any accelerator, not any really, but I would say 50% of the accelerators, probably you would get a startup school, something similar like this. But the thing that's unique about Sound of AI Accelerator is that you're going to get all of this through the lenses of an audio AI startup, which has its own requirements and needs that are quite particular. Now, another thing that I'm super proud of is mentors, and this is probably the most enriching thing for startups. So we have more than 40 mentors, and these are leaders in audio tech and music tech. Among them, we have audio tech founders, CEOs, CTOs, engineers, researchers, professors. They come both from industry, from startups, scale-ups, enterprise, but also from academia. And they are divided into sort of business tracks and technical tracks. Each formed company will have at least one business mentor and a technical mentor per startup. And there are going to be mentors which will serve all the startups across the accelerator. For example, mentors that are very strong on IP or legal and may just give you the answers that you are looking for in that particular topic, in that particular field. Now, mentors not only will mentor your startup, but they will also give keynote talks and will be interviewed. And this means that you'll have the opportunity to hear from the best in the game and have also the opportunity to ask questions and try to extract as much information as you want, as you can. And that will definitely be a catalyst, just like to push you and sort of like pick the brain of very, very smart people who are quite successful in what they do. Cool. Another thing that you'll get from the Sound of AI Accelerator is the force multiplier that derives from being in an accelerator with a lot of peer companies which do more or less what you do, or at least which are active in the same vertical. Now, I have to say that with Melodrive, we went to an accelerator in Silicon Valley called Boost VC, an amazing accelerator. Now, we got a little bit of this force multiplier, but not the same amount that you folks can get in Sound of AI Accelerator. And the reason was that we were the only music AI company there. There were a couple of other AI companies, but mainly there were crypto and VR, AR company. So yes, of course, we could pick the brain of very smart people around us, but we were the only ones doing music AI. Whereas in this case, everyone will be in the same niche. And this is an incredible catalyst for pushing you, developing cool technology and understanding the market and understanding clients, because you'll all be in the same boat doing similar things. That is, I can't sort of overestimate how important that is. Another important thing that you'll get from the accelerator is industry connections within, of course, the music and audio tech industries. And those will come, of course, from my network as well as from your mentors' networks. And that is extremely important because it will allow you to open doors and have access potentially to clients and have access to people who can give you a lot of feedback that will be instrumental for building your startup successfully. Another great thing that we have with the accelerator is that we are Amazon AWS Activate providers. What this means is that we partnered up with Amazon AWS, and all the startups which will form in the accelerator will get 25K dollars in AWS credits, for example, for running training for your with GPU, or just like for any type of computation or service that comes from AWS. And this is like really, really cool. Usually accelerators have 10K, they give away 10K in AWS credits, but in our case, given we focus on AI, we were able to get more than double than that, which is 25K, which is really, really cool. Now, a question that I guess asked all the time is, do you actually invest in companies? And the answer is no, we are not a fund at this point, so we don't invest in companies. But what we do is we give you exposure to investors who have a track record investing in audio tech and music tech. And that will come through a demo day, which is sort of like the coronation of this program, and it comes during like the last week of the program. Talking about the program, let's zoom in and see how it's divided into like 3 different phases. So the journey starts with the first leg, 3 weeks, which is all about preparation. Then you have the bulk of the program where the sort of focus will be on building a minimum viable product. And then in week 12, it's all about showing what you've done, and everything will be sort of centered around demo day. Now, let's zoom into each of these legs of this cool journey. So leg number 1, as said, preparation. During this period, you'll have networking sessions. Of course, you don't know most of the people, if not all the people in the accelerator. So of course, you'll have to meet and greet them, right? And throughout this process, you'll also have to find or co-found your team. And at that point, you'll also come up with a business idea that you want to go after. Of course, this idea is not going to be set in stone, and it's going to dramatically change throughout the program based on the feedback that you get from your customers. And in order to get that feedback, you'll start with customer discovery, which is all about getting out of the office and getting feedback from your potential clients so that you can tailor your ideas and see whether your solution actually addresses a problem or more problems that your potential customers actually have. Then you'll attend startup school and you'll have office hours with me, which is basically time, one-to-one or one-to-team time that you'll have with me to getting feedback on what you're doing. Then we move on to the core of the program, week 4 through week 11. And at this point, you'll concentrate on building a minimum viable product, or MVP, which is a lingo for saying that you want to build a prototype that has all the necessary or minimal features that can address some of the problems of your customers. You'll continue doing customer discovery. You'll continue having networking sessions. You'll have weekly checkpoints where you'll just say what you've done in the previous week, what have been the things that you've succeeded at, what have been the obstacles, and what you plan to do next week. Then by this time, you'll have a couple of mentors assigned already. So you'll have weekly mentorships with them. You'll attend mentors' keynote talks and interviews. You'll continue having office hours with me, and we'll have important sessions, which are pitch rehearsals. During these rehearsals, you'll sort of practice your pitch, and you'll get feedback from me, from all of your peers, as well as from some mentors who may just like chip in and sort of like attend these sessions and provide active feedback to you folks. Cool. And all of a sudden, we are at the end of this journey, which is week 12, and everything during this week will be sort of tailored for preparing you and perfecting your pitch for demo day. So you'll have mentorships and final mentorships. You'll have some final office hours with me to perfect your pitch. And then you'll have demo day. During demo day, as I told you already a few slides back, You'll have a lot of investors active in audio tech and in music tech attending, and you'll be able to give your pitch and then meet and greet some of them who may be interested in what you folks are doing. Okay, some logistical questions. So when's the accelerator running? So it's running for 12 weeks from April the 11th until July the 2nd. You can participate from all over the world. There are a few reasons for that. Reason number one is that we tried out this approach with the open source research project and with the hackathon, and it worked like a charm. And so we want just to replicate that. And one of the big advantages of having people sort of joining from all over the world is that you'll have a very diverse sort of like participant pool, which is a big richness in and of itself. And the other big advantage is that people from more disadvantaged countries will be able to participate. For some of them, may be quite difficult, just like, for example, to come over for 3 months in Spain, here in Malaga, where I'm currently living. So this is the reason why they've decided to go with this sort of online remote approach. Now, a very important question, who should apply? Well, first of all, the most important criterion is that you want to start a music, audio, or voice AI company. Of course, we want technical people to apply, like audio AI engineers, researchers, developers, but we also want the other side of the moon to apply. So business people, product people, and creative people, because we do believe that the best startup teams are the ones which have a very interdisciplinary skill set. Because when you are in a startup, you have to wear so many hats that it's incredibly important to have people with very diverse skills. You must be super committed. You must be polite. You should be somebody who's ready to ask questions, but also to listen to others. So you should provide proactive feedback, but you should also be capable of getting feedback and processing feedback positively. Of course, this is not about you as an individual, but rather as a plural you, as a team, as a co-founding team. So it's paramount that you are a very good team player. And of course, you should be a very thoughtful person, someone who thinks a lot before talking. Okay, how much will all of this cost you? Now, the great news about this is that all of this is going to be completely free for you, for participants. So we are not going to charge any fees for attending the program, nor we're going to get any equity from the formed companies. And now you may be wondering, but this is a lot of work. So why are you doing this for free? Well, let me tell you a story that starts with this guy, an Italian entrepreneur. His name is Augusto Coppola. He, during like the early 2000s, sold a couple of startups. So he did a couple of very successful exits, and then he came back to Italy and he started this thing called Innovation Lab. And I was lucky enough to attend the 2013 iteration in Rome. This was a startup school not that far from what I'm doing here with the Sound of AI Accelerator. Main difference is that this was a very generalist startup school, startup accelerator, that started with people who would form teams, co-founding teams, and then start working on startup ideas, just like the Sound of AI Accelerator, with the main difference that in this case, during Innovation Lab, you could form any type of startups you wanted. It could be e-commerce, it could be web-based, mobile-based, AI, whatever, right? Now, this probably has been the most important training experience that I've had in my life, and it really has been a life-changing experience. So over like the last 10 years plus, I've sort of accumulated a lot of experience and knowledge within the music AI, audio AI environment. And so I really want to give back to the community. This is something that really drives me. I want to share the knowledge and experience I've acquired. And at the same time, what I'd like to do is do what Augusto did back in the day with me with Innovation Lab. So planting the seeds of innovation, planting the seeds of creating things out of nothing and sort of like fueling like that fire that so many people have because they want to have an impact on the world. And I really am super proud when I can see these type of people sort of like getting like the necessary skills to express themselves at their full potential. So this is really my ultimate goal. And as my not big friend would say, I also hope to make Music AI great again. Jokes aside, what I really want to do is create a platform where music AI companies can thrive. So a platform where you have startup companies, you have investors, you have the research institutions, and you have mentors and practitioners who can all come together and use this platform as a way to innovate within this fascinating field. So everything that's free is not really free after all, isn't it, right? So what do we actually ask in exchange? Well, of course, we do ask for your soul, where not really. What we actually ask you is to being serious, to be committed. And commitment here means at least putting in 35 hours a week and to attend all sessions, or at least like most sessions. So if you miss multiple sessions and you don't have a justification for it, or you just act out, you misbehave, you're going to be kicked out of the accelerator. No answers, no questions asked at all. Now, one question you may actually have at this point is, how can I apply? Well, applications have been open for a while, and you'll basically have another week because they will close on March the 15th. So to apply, you should go to the accelerator's website, which is this one. There's this section, how to apply. You go down here, you click the apply now button, and you get teleported to this Google survey. Now, in this Google survey, we ask you some demographic information. And the most important one is your CV, please, maximum a couple of pages, your motivational letter, maximum 200 words, and your the link to your LinkedIn profile. Now, if you don't follow the application instructions correctly, we are not going to consider them. For example, if you send in a CV that has 8 pages, something like that. No, please do follow instructions. Successful applicants will be contacted by April the 1st. Remember, the program will start on April the 11th. If you don't hear from us by April the 1st, it means, unfortunately, for this year, you haven't made it through. So we really invite you to try out next year in the second iteration of the accelerator. Now, a question you may have is, how do you evaluate applications? Well, first of all, adherence to instructions. You must adhere to instructions. Then we look at the motivational letter. We really want to know why you're excited about this accelerator and why you think you are the right person for being in this accelerator and what you can bring to the table in your company. Then we also take a look at the applicant's experience in music, audio, voice, AI. This doesn't mean that you have to have 5 years experience working for Spotify or a similar company. No, absolutely not. But we really love seeing your interest for this particular field. And if you are an engineer, this could mean something as simple as linking some GitHub repositories where you've done some work in the space, like building a music recommender system or a system that generates melodies or a speech recognition system, something like this. You should also demonstrate a can-do attitude, because at the end of the day, the best predictor for the success of a startup company is the capacity of executing stuff of the co-founding team. So having a can-do attitude is all it really matters for being successful with your own venture. Cool. We are accepting 30 people, and that's because we're going to form 10 startup companies, and each co-founding team is going to have 3 people. So overall, 30 people will be accepted in the program. Now, this is not a solo venture. It would be completely impossible for me to do all of this by myself. I have an amazing team behind me. Fernando is helping me out with daily operations, whereas Simone is helping out with everything that has to do with spreading the word about the accelerator. So if we want to keep up to date with the accelerator, I highly suggest you to sign up to the Sound of AI Slack community. And I really suggest you to do this whether you want to apply for the accelerator or not, because this is a really cool music audio AI community, very supportive one, and you'll find a lot of like-minded people if you're interested in this particular field. To remain up to date, you should also follow or keep an eye on the accelerator's website, and of course on my YouTube channel that's called The Sound of AI. And there I'll be posting a few videos talking about the accelerator and also like a bunch of like related things. Okay, just a final reminder, applications are open and they will close on March the 15th. This means that you'll have at least another week to put in an application. Cool, so here you have all of my contacts. So feel free to take a screenshot of this so that in case you need to reach out to me, you can do it in any of these channels in case I don't answer your questions today. Cool. Yep, that's it for the presentation. So I'd say let's move on to questions in case there are any.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I have some questions that were sent to me by some students who weren't able to make this event, and some other ones that I've had during the course of this presentation. But I was just wondering if anyone here has any questions before we get into those. All right. In that case, oh no,
hey,
that's
Garrett, this may be on your list, but it should be an easy one. Valerio, I'm just curious, how are you going to handle scheduling? You know, reconciling the, you know, if you're having people from all over different time zones, that kind of thing. What's your plan for the schedule and things like that?
Yeah, so we are gonna reuse the strategy that we've used for the open source research project, which was basically having sessions in the afternoon, early evening of my time, so Central European time, which usually tends to work quite well for most people. Of course, like if you are from Australia, that's going to be a problem, but we don't expect a multitude of people applying from there. So unfortunately, it can't work perfectly for everyone, so you'll have to find a trade-off. And we've seen with that particular project that using sort of like afternoon hours, Central European time, and early evening hours tends to work quite well.
Cool. Thanks. Great presentation.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
absolutely. Thank you very much. Yes, that was one of the ones that was on my list, but I'm very happy that was answered. One of the questions that I have here is that the mentors for the program are that are listed on the website are some incredibly well-established individuals. And you mentioned that each startup is advised by one business mentor and one technical mentor. How closely do participants work with these mentors? Okay, yeah. So what I've asked mentors is basically to provide half an hour of their time every week. Of course, like that's completely up to the teams to try to extract as much time and insights as they can from mentors. So that is going to be a relationship that they'll have directly with their mentors. So I'm not going to do, I'm just going to make the initial introductions. Then it's going to be a completely like independent relationship between them. So it's going to be up to them to be smart enough to try to get like as much as they can from them. But what I've asked them is half an hour every week. Awesome. Yeah, thank you very much. Another one of the questions that I have here is, and I think you briefly mentioned this towards the end, but will this accelerator run again in the future? Correct. Yeah, it will run in the future. The basic idea is that it will run one iteration per year. We're going to have one iteration per year. And yeah, in a way, this initial iteration is going to be a sort of like initial pilot project. At the end of today, it's the first time we're doing this, right? But the idea is to have it like once per year, correct? I'm very happy to hear that. I've just got a few more questions here, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course.
Is there a specific field within the audio or sound industry that this accelerator you assume might end up focusing towards, such as the fields like audio for video or audio restoration and repair?
No, that's completely up to the startups to decide. Everything that is at an intersection of audio, voice, music, AI is absolutely okay to pursue.
Awesome, thank you. Just two more questions that I have. You mentioned the startup school. In your opinion, as to how you see this, what are some of the most important skills that are learned during this accelerator and during the startup school section?
Yeah, I think many. So basically, I would say everything that has to do with startups, how to actually create a startup, how to run customer discovery. And many of the people who will participate probably will come from a very sort of like technical background. And I'm one of those, right? When I started, I was like super technical and I had near zero experience or zero experience with business and everything like that. And I sort of realized very soon that it is extremely important to understand all of that world, because at the end of the day, as researchers, as engineers, we're super happy to work in super cool tech, but not necessarily super enticed by the prospect of talking to people and trying to understand what they actually need. And the startup school will allow you to have the skills, the frameworks, as well as the mindset to go after that particular process, which is understanding whether the cool technology that you want to work on is actually needed within the market. So that is like extremely important. Then beyond that, there's the whole sort of like agile stuff. So how do we maximize the efficiency of a company for building a product in the quickest time possible, but at the same time, a product that works as best as possible for particular requirements. And beyond that, we'll also focus on how to do all of this within the particular field of audio AI and music AI. And we'll take a look, it's not going to be like technical lessons, but we're going to take a look at how you should sort of envision your development process in terms of how to build an infrastructure in terms of machine learning operation, MLOps, and all of those things that are extremely important, but at the same time, extremely overlooked within startups, and not only startups, but also in corporations. So how do we actually build a product and not just some cool tech that's never going to scale, right? We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty technical details of this, but I'm going to give you pointers. I'm going to give you the mindset, and then you're going to be free to sort of like understand which direction you want to go, right? You're going to be treated as grown-ups as you are, right? So I'm going to give you the necessary pointers, and then it's going to be up to you to implement all of those ideas and find what works best for you. One final thing that's going to be like very, very important is during this startup school, you're going to learn how to bootstrap a company. And in fact, like that's extremely important, especially within the music tech, audio tech field, where it's kind of difficult to get VC money. And so it's very important to understand how to create value from the get-go, how to self-sustain, and then recognize when it's the right time. And if it's time to go out and seek some investment. And for that, we'll also understand how this sort of like mysterious world of investment and VCs and angel investors actually work. So yeah, it's a lot of like varied things that you'll need sort of like in your bag of tools to be successful at all of this. Yeah.
That's actually fantastic. It leads me into the last question that I had very nicely, which was that audio AI as a concept is already pretty multidisciplinary, but are there other industries that this accelerator might help develop skills for? And I think that you talked a bit about that, about acquiring VC and how to kind of create a product, not just a technology, but are there any other skills that you want to highlight that are just, general skills outside of just this part of the industry?
Yeah, I mean, all of the skills that I've listed are skills that work, across markets. It's not something that's unnecessary for this particular field, right? And I want to stress once again that we're not going to do anything technical in particular regarding like audio or music. Of course, you're going to have like your technical mentors. You can ask me questions regarding technical stuff, but I'm not going to teach you generative music or MIR. I would assume that you already have that knowledge, or at least like that you're able to find that out. It's not about that, right? So accelerators are not about like the technical part, it's all the rest, right? That doesn't mean that you're not going to get a lot of input on that level from your mentors as well as like from me, right? But the most important things will be like on the other side, sort of like the business side, the mindset, and that is something that you'll be able to reuse in whatever vertical that you want to work into, right? And I think like a thing that will be a sort of like collateral, like byproduct of all of this will be the capacity to, work on complex projects, organize yourself, be able to find like the right people to work with, and sort of like boost quite a lot your sort of like skills as a team player. And that again is a skill that's extremely important today, not just in audio AI, but whatever you do.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? All right. Well, in that case, thank you so much for meeting with us. I'll send out right now into the chat the link for the website, thesoundofai.com, so that you can take a look at that. Would you like to send out or pull up the screen again with your contact information?
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
Just give me a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please let me know if you can see my screen now.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Are there any last things that you would like to say?
No, yeah, I think that's it. Really looking forward to seeing your applications, and at the same time, thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you very much for talking
pleasure.
about this presentation. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.